All right, up first, let's get you all the latest from the G7. Let's go across to my colleague Maha Siddiqui, who joins us there from Canada. And Maha, lots happening. The Prime Minister has arrived just a short while ago. Also, Donald Trump cutting short his G7 visit.
Yes, Gargi, absolutely right. Donald Trump is cutting short his G7 summit visit to Canada and flying back to Washington, D.C. after the dinner of the heads of state this evening. And Prime Minister Modi has landed in Calgary, in Alberta, where we are at the moment, just about an hour ago. And from here, the outreach session for the invitees that gets underway tomorrow. The invited countries get ready to their statements at the G7 summit, the grouping of the richest countries and the European Union. This grouping, in fact, has seen divergence of views and differing priorities because of the onslaught of tariffs coming from one of their own members, that is the United States of America. President Donald Trump, since he took office this January, has unleashed a tariff onslaught against both foes and friends, including against Canada, which at the moment has 25% tariff on automobiles, 50% tariff on aluminum and steel, and 10% tariff on energy. Amidst all these issues, the bigger issue that has at this moment overshadowed the G7 summit is that of the conflict between Israel and Iran. And President Donald Trump going back to Washington, D.C. with the White House stating this as the reason. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, though, said that this was a positive move because he believes this signals that President Trump could push for ceasefire now. However, if President Trump's own social media statements are seen on Truth Social, as Gargi pointed out just a short while back, he said that people in Tehran should evacuate, and also pointed out how Iran had not, in fact, gone in for a nuclear deal with the US, resulting in this situation. Meanwhile, with the possibility of improvement of ties between India and Canada, with the Prime Minister accepting the invitation from the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and coming to the G7 summit, also participating in the outreach tomorrow, and then holding a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney, all sending a message to the communities on both sides, especially the Indian community in Canada, that there could be better times after 2 years of friction between India and Canada. This is giving hope to a lot of people, especially the youngsters, the student community in Canada that comes from India. The largest chunk of international students is from India, and they have felt the pressure of the friction between the two countries. They are welcoming the visit of the Prime Minister. Let's listen in to some voices now.
Indian students are a global lot these days. But what that means is a friction between the governments of two countries can have an immediate fallout on this younger lot. I have with me a group of students from India here in Canada. Let's speak to them about their expectations now that the relations between India and Canada seem to be improving. Many thanks all of you for speaking with NDTV. I'll start off with you. What expectation do you now have for the students, considering that there were some unique problems that students from India were facing in Canada? Do you think the fact that Prime Minister Modi is coming to Canada is a good sign even for the students?
I think it's an amazing sign, and as someone who calls herself a youth leader here in Calgary and Chesmere, I'm very, very happy to say that we, the students here as well as the Indian diaspora, we are eagerly ready to welcome Prime Minister Modi ji into Canada, and we really hope that this visit leads to a better alignment of Canada and India's values as well as their goals for both nations, and they work towards developing and building a mutually beneficial and effective relationship and alliance which can help and benefit both populations of India and Canada, and definitely can help some of our students as well, and we don't feel so split amongst our loyalties as well as amongst which country
to
support, to favor, because both of them are our homes. India is our Janmbhumi, Canada is our Karambhumi, and we really, really love both nations. And it absolutely hurts us and it breaks us to see the separation and the division that we see here in the Indian diaspora because of these geopolitical issues. So we really hope that the outcome of this visit leads to a more collaborative and a more positive relationship, working for the benefit of both nations.
What are some of the issues that you feel should be addressed by the two nations, especially with regards to students? Any specific issues that you want addressed?
So for me particularly, I've been here since 2013. I haven't had any specific, issues that maybe the Canadians have done to me as Canadian too, I've met many lovely people here, so I haven't had any sort of racism or anything. But I do know that, my co-workers and colleagues and everything, they have experienced certain level of racism that I do believe that should be, noticed and that should be talked about. But regardless of that, I don't think there is anything that, brings, that's bad. But another thing I wanted to talk about was, again, with their, collaboration between India and Canada, past few years their relationships had gone down. So I also hope that the relationship goes back together and everyone is okay, because again, that's our country, this is our country too. So we hope everyone's on good terms with that too.
Also, a lot of Indian students who wanted to come in the recent past have faced issues with regards to student permits and uncertainty generally around whether they can come and study in Canada and whether it will be a smooth ride. Do both of you feel that with Prime Minister Modi now coming to Canada, having been invited by Prime Minister Carney, there will be a breaking of the ice, a thawing of the ice between the two sides that will help address some of these technical issues as well?
I think we certainly hope so, that it does kind of, open up those conversations. And with all of these, it all starts from the social stigma against immigrants that's growing in Canada, like we've seen happen in the US before us. And I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction where, you can, as you mentioned, break the ice. And more importantly, you can address the issues. They're very real. The growing Hinduphobia in Canada is very real. And general distaste of immigrants is very real. And they're just not being overlooked so often. And I hope that now that we have a new Prime Minister, we have Prime Minister Modi, who was invited even though he initially wasn't, and I hope we can amend those relationships and things get a lot easier for people who are trying to come here, because as someone who was born here, who's lucky enough to call this place a home, I'm very happy living here. I think it's a great step for a lot of youths in India to come here as well, and everyone deserves to have that opportunity.
Not just the students who are looking at this visit positively, but it's the business community as well that has seen or suffered a setback because of the friction between the two countries that is welcoming this visit and the bilateral meeting between the two prime ministers, that is Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. The trade between the two countries has a lot of potential, and both sides have acknowledged that, especially Canada at a time when it wants to diversify its trading partnership after what it has suffered in the form of a betrayal from its southern neighbor, the United States. It is hopeful to be able to mend ties with India, a critical country in the Indo-Pacific. Canada has a 2022 Indo-Pacific strategy, which acknowledges the importance or the significance of India. And Prime Minister Mark Carney, following that now, probably will give a boost to the trade between the two countries. I also spoke with a set of Indo-Canadian business persons and also some of the people who are heading cultural organizations here to get a sense of what their expectation from this visit is.
Feeling a sense of betrayal from the United States, Canada is looking to diversify its trading partners. And here's where India comes into focus. As a critical country in the Indo-Pacific, Canada recognizes the importance of India, and the new Prime Minister Mark Carney wants to leverage this relationship now by the first step that he's taking in trying to improve the ties. How will this help the trading community as well, which has been looking out for improvement in ties? I have with me a group of business persons here in Calgary, and they are keenly awaiting the Prime Minister's visit in the hope that this will act as an icebreaker. What are the sectors where you see an improvement in trade between India and Canada, especially once the relationship gets better?
Yeah, I think it would be mainly oil and gas, which is basically India's importer. LNG they can import from Canada, and then oil also. And that is the big for India. And then for Canada, it is vice versa. It should be basically defense and technology and IT.
India's goods trade with Canada is highly under potential. As far as services trade is concerned, it is slightly better. Do any of you see any other sectors where you believe that improvement is going to impact the overall relationship as well, make the two countries come closer via trade? You want to say?
Thank you for the question. I think this is a very important point for the Canadian. As we all know, as a Canadian, there are lots of healthcare issues here in Canada. And as an individual, as a group, all Canadian, most of them are waiting to get the treatment. I will give you just a small example very quickly. One of my known's husband, he diagnosed with the last stage cancer, and they told us that he's here for only for 3 months, but the waiting list is for 6 months. So this is what all Canadians are facing, and this is very, very important. We are looking for a healthcare industry, and India is the one that we can look forward.
With regards to issues like visas as well, they become a problem whenever there is a friction between the two countries, causing a lot of problem to the common man. But I want you all to explain the fallout on the trading community as well, the business persons, when such visa hurdles are created.
So I can say one thing, there is so many gossips going between both countries. Right now, the relation going to start right away. So might be once they sit both countries together, there is so many things they have to settle, and especially the visa, student visas or work permits. Right now, 2025, there is so many visas is expiring. Fortunately, if both countries has like a good relation, definitely they can give like a good opportunity for the newcomers or like students or everyone. We are expecting those things, and certainly these things will settle by this G7 meeting. Hope for best. That's it.
Let's speak with the Gujarati Mandal of Calgary. Their representatives are here and hopeful that with Prime Minister Modi's visit to Canada, the relationship between the two countries is going to improve, and that will lead to better representation for this community here in Canada as well. What are your expectations from this visit?
Well, first of all, we are very excited to have our Prime Minister, beloved Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in Calgary for the first time. Our expectation is better relationship between India and Canada, which we can already see by this initiative from our current Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Carney. So we are very happy, and we want to see more and more relationship built, and that is beneficial to both India and Canada.
Apart from visa issues, student issues, what are the other issues you think that would be beneficial if the two leaders take up?
I think the trade and commerce will improve a lot when the ties are very strong between India and Canada, and India is soon going to be the third largest economy, as we all know, in the world, and Canada has lots of natural resources. So if there is a give and take, if there is a trade between Canada and India, it will benefit a lot to the business world, and that will basically help both the countries to prosper and help us Indo-Canadians also to prosper in our world.